You know, we're about to pull back the curtain on something you probably use every single day, maybe even every single hour, but might not really know how it works. We're talking about Google Search. It's almost a reflex, right? You need to know how to tie a tie, you need a tutorial for, I don't know, swaddling a baby, or you just need some ideas for dinner. You turn to this little white box. It's become this truly universal habit for all of us. It honestly feels a little bit like magic. You type in a few words, hit enter, and boom, instant answers. But it's not magic. It's actually one of the most complex information systems ever built. So let's break it down. Let's see how it goes from your question to that perfectly organized page of results. Okay, so to make this all super clear, we're going to follow one simple and hopefully delicious journey from start to finish. We're on the hunt for a great lasagna recipe, and this one little search is going to help us unravel the entire process. So, first things first, to really get how search works, you have to wrap your head around the insane scale of the internet. Because before you even type a single letter, Google has already been working for decades on this monumental task, just trying to organize it all. And when I say it all, I mean we're talking about hundreds of billions of web pages. That's how much of the web Google has discovered and put on its map. It's a staggering, constantly growing universe of information. So how on earth do you even begin to organize something that massive? Well, that brings us to the absolute foundational concept behind search. Google has to build a system to organize all that information before you ever show up with a question. And that system is called the index. Now, don't think of it as the web itself, but more like a map of the web. It's this enormous database of every page that Google's automated programs, you might have heard of them as spiders, have been able to find by crawling from link to link to link all across the internet. You know that library metaphor? It's really the perfect way to think about it. The index is like the ultimate card catalog for the entire internet. And here's the key thing to remember. When you search, you're not actually searching the live, chaotic web in real time. You're searching Google's copy of it, this meticulously organized library. Okay, so we've got our library, but when we search for lasagna recipe, there could be millions of pages that match. The next critical step is figuring out how to sort through all of them to find the best, most helpful ones. And that's where ranking comes in. This is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Out of literally millions of potential recipes, how do the algorithms decide what gets to be on that coveted first page? Well, it's definitely not random. It's a complex recipe all on its own, with hundreds of different signals all working together. So let's look at some of the big ones, the main ingredients in this ranking recipe. The systems are looking at the words you use, how other pages link to that content, where you are in the world, and just how new the information is. Let's see how this all comes together. So at the most basic level, it starts with the words. If you search for lasagna recipe, the system looks for those words on a page, but it's way smarter than just a simple text match. It also looks at where those words show up. Are they in the main title? Are they in the text and image caption? That context is absolutely crucial. Now, this next idea, this was the original breakthrough for Google. It was the core of their first algorithm, PageRank. See, when a well-respected cooking website links to a certain lasagna recipe, it's like it's casting a vote of confidence. It's telling the system, hey, this page over here, it's important, it's trustworthy. And get this, your physical location can totally change what results are actually helpful. So if you're in Ormia, Italy, and you search for lasagna, you might be looking for info on their famous annual lasagna festival. But if you're sitting in Omaha, Nebraska, yeah, probably not. The system is smart enough to take that into account. And finally, there's freshness. Now, for something like a developing news story, a page that was published just minutes ago is obviously going to be more useful than one from last week. For our lasagna recipe, maybe it's a little less important, but for a ton of topics, how recent the info is a huge signal of relevance. So this system ranks pages based on how helpful they are. But what about the opposite? The web is, let's be honest, full of low-quality content and even outright scams. A huge part of Google's job is filtering all of that junk out. Just imagine you land on a web page that just lists the words lasagna recipe over and over again, like 400 times. It's trying to trick the system into thinking it's the most relevant page on the planet. This old-school tactic is called keyword stuffing. But here's the thing. That page is not going to help you make dinner, is it?
It's just spam. So Google's systems are in this constant cat and mouse game to detect tricks like this and thousands of others to keep all that low quality, malicious stuff out of your search results.
Now, all these complex algorithms are doing the heavy lifting for sure, but they don't just operate in a vacuum. To make sure the system is always getting better, there is an absolutely essential human element involved. Okay, this next stat is just, it's wild. On any given day, 1 out of every 7 searches typed into that little box has never been searched before by anyone, ever. That's just how fast our world and our questions are changing, and it's exactly why the system has to be constantly learning and improving.
So, to do that, Google relies on thousands of people all over the world called search quality raters. What they do is they're given sample search results and they give feedback based on a really detailed set of public guidelines. But here's the crucial part: their ratings do not directly change the ranking for that specific page. Instead, all that feedback is used as a quality check on potential changes to the algorithm itself to make sure any updates are actually making search better for all of us.
Okay, so let's put it all together. Here's what happens in the blink of an eye. First, the system analyzes what your search actually means. Then, it matches your query against that massive index of the web. Third, it uses hundreds of factors to rank all those results for quality. And finally, it filters out the spam and presents you with a neatly organized page of results. And it does all of that in, on average, less than a single second. It is an absolutely incredible feat of engineering that's happening billions of times a day. And just like that, you've got your lasagna recipe. Which really brings us to a final thought, right? In a world where our collective curiosity is constantly creating new questions that have never been asked before, the challenge of organizing all this information, it never really ends. It kind of makes you wonder, what will we all ask next?